lately. So it's a very fascinating, like it gives a great joy when you create something, and people will end up playing it. So giving users a great gaming experience, that is what fascinates me, to work more on the products which we work on. So yeah.
Great, great, great. Cool. So okay, so let's if you can take us through like how or what goes behind, let's say, game development beyond coding. I'm sure with so much AI there'll be what the industry and how does the industry looks. So if you could give us some idea of that. You want me to
uh,
let me know about the PPT where you want me to go.
yeah, you can switch the slides. You can go to the next slide. um okay, so I'll you want me to talk about the pipeline of developing the games, or like first should I put some insight about the gaming industry?
Yeah, let's start with insight.
Okay. So, after the COVID lockdown, when people started getting more online, so that's when the gaming industry started booming, a lot. So, lot many indie studios came up. There were bigger studios which existed, like Ubisoft, Rockstar Games, EA Sports, and so on. But when the gaming industry started booming up, lot many indie studios are like the ones, people like me who have passion, to start their own games and releasing it or working with the publishers and so on. So lot many indie studios came up during the COVID period, and that's when the boom happened in the industry. Lot many people started playing games, and so the career opportunities opened up very drastically. That's when I also got into the industry. So the gaming industry, it is said, it is larger than the movie industry and the music industry combined together. So that is the scope, and it is growing drastically every year. I think at least by 40%. So it has a global reach, and you whatever games you make, right? So you can tie up with any publishers are looking forward for great products, right, all around the world with the developers. So if they find a scope with your game, no matter where you exist, so they will tie up with you, and they will very much look forward to work with you. So it has a very big scope, the gaming industry overall. So it has a lot of career opportunities also. I am a developer. So apart from developers, we need designers, who come up with the gaming ideas, who come up with the concepts, like what the game should look, they come with the idea stage, and they give their insights in the overall development. Then comes the game art part, 2D artist, 3D artist, the visual things, and we have testers, we have we have data analysts who see the market trends, and what are the user insights of the products when it is launched. So I think these are the career scopes which the gaming industry has. So yeah, basically this is the insight. So further, should I go into the pipeline, or should I speak about the genres now? Hello.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I was saying maybe we can talk genres and then move to pipeline.
Okay. So, before mobile games, we had console games, the video games which existed, the cassette ones, which we had during our childhood days. So those games were there, since quite long. Then, when even the mobile games existed, but they were very nominal, like the Java mobile games which we had in our Nokia mobile phones during our childhood days. Then, when the mobile started getting more advanced with the Android and all coming up after the year 2010, so that's when the mobile gaming industry started booming up, and people started launching their games on the Play Store. And also when iOS came up, I think iOS also came up that time only. So the game started getting launched on the Play Store, the App Store. So that's when the mobile gaming industry boomed up. And the PC games also, yeah, the PC games also, I think, was before the mobile games. So even that time we had the nominal games, like Prince of Persia, even GTA existed that time. GTA Vice City, San Andreas also was there, and now we have GTA 6 also coming up. Then talking about the VR AR console games. So after, I think, after the year 2020, so that's where the demand for AR VR games started booming up. So even like Facebook, changed its name to Meta to determine the metaverse concept. So they also like focused a lot. They came up with their AR VR consoles like Meta Quest. So like lot many studios are now focusing on developing AR VR games, but it is not like as much as we expected the market should be. Like we felt like the market would boom drastically, but like it has become quite stagnated. So I would say like the demand for AR VR games is still there in the market, but I would say the mobile games and the console PC games, they still have a more they have a more lifeline than the AR VR games for sure, because of I think because of the console people cannot afford, everybody cannot afford the AR VR consoles. So that's why the demand for mobile games and PC console games will always remain for longer period. So I feel these are the genres which exist in the gamings. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So maybe, and I'm assuming that based on the immersive experience itself, the VR would
Hmm.
be most difficult to develop and mobile would be the easiest of all, or it's not like that.
No, not like that. Like, both the things are like it doesn't make much difference with the difficulty. Like, I think both the things are like quite the same in terms of development.
Okay.
It's just as like, like a larger audience have the access to mobile phones as compared to the VR consoles. So, also like, even I, talking about my personal experience, so I also have a Quest 2. So, like, I just used it during my initial days and then I kept it off. Like, so I am like I use mobile a lot as compared to I just kept it aside the VR console. So I feel like we expected initially the market would be very drastic for the AR VR consoles, but I feel the as mobile gaming as a larger scope than the AR VR. AR VR will have demand, but not um, as the mobile gaming.
Okay, so
So
maybe I'll ask this way: which one pays the best?
which one pays the best? Like in terms of development,
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter. Like you get the same pay either you work on VR or mobile. So
Right. Cool. So if you can just walk us through the journey. So let's say I have an idea that I want to say I come from home to office every day and I
hmm.
convert that driving experience into a game. So what exactly is the process and how should I come to a decision whether or not it's a good game, all those things like is it a worthy attempt, all those things, how do I come to know?
Okay, so let's take an example. So suppose you go to your office facing the Mumbai traffic on a daily basis. So while driving, this concept comes in your mind. Every day you're facing this traffic jam. So why not turn it into a puzzle game? Wherein kya bolte hain? You clear the traffic, something. Take it like there are different colors of cars. So if you see like there are 3 4 cars together or something, or like if the front car, like the car which is in the front, it has a passage to clear the traffic. तो पहले उसको clear करो and like पीछे वाले को clear करो. So different, you can either go it on a color matching basis, or you can either go for clearing the front wala path and getting the path clear for the behind cars. So this is one of the ideas which can come in your mind. Ideas can come at any time. So once you get the idea for a game concept, so you pitch it, either you pitch it with the publishers, or if you have your own studio and you launch your game yourself, so you can also pitch it with your own team. So if the idea gets approved, not necessarily the idea for the entire game, but just the basic idea, the conceptual idea on what basis you will, which is the fundamental for you to create further ideas for the for the pipeline of the game. So once that is approved, so you work on a proper game design document, what should be the idea of the game, the mechanics of the game, and what kind of users it would attract. um what can be, how can you make the game difficult, how can you make that game more engaging. So once you have the proper GDD, then you bring it into the production. So that's when the developers, like the art team, they all come into the picture. So developers, like, they start making the mechanics. The art team would start working on the assets, in a sense, like the 3D models, the animations, the UI sprites thing. So they both the processes go on parallelly, and at the further stage of the pipeline, they both the things get merged and they come up with a proper game. Then that's where the testers come into the picture, right? So the testers, like, they test the game very rigorously. So, like, I would say, like, the developers, like, don't have a very good equation with the testers, like, so once the developers feel like the game is fully ready and, like, it is ready to be launched, the developers will come up with some shitty, like, bugs and test cases and deadlocks ki, like, ये केस में game deadlock हो गया, so, like, do something about it. I was like, who cares, man? Like, they come up with such cases, like, which the normal users don't get into. So, like, that is a very kind of a headache process. So once the testers give a green signal, right, so that's when we the game goes into the launch. And that's where, like, people like the data analyst, the growth analyst, those people, they come into picture. They see the user base, the retention, like how much the game has been downloaded, how much the users are, like, playing the game on a daily basis, the time spent, those things go into the research. And after that, like, we decide whether we should further work on the game. Like, what is the scope of the game, is if we do any changes, will that impact the user base, or whether the game has no scope, we should kill the game. So those things we decide after, like, launching it. So I think, like, this is the basic pipeline of, like, how the game development journey goes.
Okay. So you said approve. You need to get approval. So who approves it? Like the production house, or there's any regulation around it?
So approve, in a sense, the basic idea stage, or like the idea of the game, right?
That the initial thing is you have to find, like you have to get the idea approved first, right?
Correct.
So who?
So basically what happens is, if you are a indie studio, right? So
Yeah.
you don't have so much of resources, like, to publish the game yourself, like, because that involves so much of money which has to be put into marketing and those things. So that's where, like, you have to work with a publisher, like, who looks after, like,
Like a
the
game
ma-
starts
yeah.
all the things. Okay.
So we have to pitch the, like, in that case, you have to pitch the idea to the publisher, and if they find it very relevant, like, if they find, like, this can have a good future based on the mechanics and the ideas, so they give a green signal, like, they say it, like, you can, yeah, go ahead with, like, working on this idea. So, and if you, like, have enough of resources for your studio, like, you can like, there are a lot many studios, like, who do self-publishing, right? So in that case, you have to pitch it with your own team. So if the team finds the idea relevant, so they ask you to go ahead with the productions.
So if someone approves, that means they'll also give a budget and they'll take care of all the expenses as well.
So initially we don't think about the expenses, like, that is nothing to be, like, I think the initial expenses are like just paying the salary for your team. I think that is, like, already predefined. So the expenses come into picture when you know you spend the money on marketing and those things. So that happens, like, you do a soft launch, right? Like, you just publish it. You, like, observe for 1 week, like, how many people are downloading it, and how much time they are spending on the game, and what is the user retention, and what is the scope. So if you get a better result, right, then you go for marketing on a bigger scale. So this goes step by step. And
Okay.
once at one point, if you see, like, there is a lot of scope in this game, like, users are spending a number of time on a daily basis, then you decide to go for a global launch, like, spend um, tons of money and go for, like, global marketing. And then you take a chance, and if that gives you a good result, so the game ends up resulting on the top charts, either on Play Store,
Got
App Stores.
Right, right, right. Interesting. Yeah, it's quite. So it's very similar to, can I say, book publishing that happens. Like you find a publisher, you write the book, and then there's some due diligence, and then they publish it.
Yeah, I don't have I'm not very sure about the what goes into the book publishing, but if you have an idea of it, so like do they check out how many people are buying it like on a small scale, and then they go for a bigger scale, or like they just publish it
So
like
there are batches.
globally for once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would happen for once. There'll be a batch. They'll say, see how much response the book has gotten. If there is
Mm-hmm.
better response, then they'll print more books and distribute it across.
Acha, okay. Yeah, like similar. You can say it's similar. Yeah, I think all the publishers they work on a same manner,
Right, right.
irrespective of whichever industry it is.
Hmm. Right, right, right. Cool. So, and what are the? So, I think I did touch upon this question, but are there regulations about what kind of game I can launch, or can it be anything? Like who controls it?
Are there regulations on what kind of games? So, if you're launching it on Play Store, right? So Play Store has their own regulations, Um, so also I think even iOS has a similar regulation for what kind of games you launch. But I don't think they put so much of restriction. Yeah, one restriction is you have to be very you have to be very specific on what user data you would be gathering, once the user downloads your game, right? So what all data you will have access to from the user's device. So that has to be very clearly mentioned on, I think, the privacy policy. So I think this is what is there in my knowledge so far. And talking about the government regulations, so it depends, so if you're launching your game, so for example, PUBG has been launched in India, right? Now we have BGMI. So when PUBG was launched, so even the government was concerned about China misusing the user data. So even if the Play Store approves the game, right, to be launched in a specific country, but if the government has any issues, so that can create a problem. But I think the government doesn't interfere in much of the cases in terms of games. But yeah, it happens on exceptional cases.
Got it, got it. And what are the kind of roles available? So we have the list available, but I'm assuming in this entire production cycle that you told, there are a lot many
Hmm.
processes. So what are the kind of roles that you can get into in gaming development?
So talking about my own studio, right? So yeah, designers, we have designers, right, who come up with the idea stage, to create the game design documents, and once the programmers and the artists start working on it, if they have any queries on if they have any queries about the game ideas and any doubts about the design thing, so the designers always come into the picture. So programmers, they work on the game, actual game, right? So they work on the coding thing, they integrate the assets. So the assets I told you before, like the artist, they are responsible, for creating the artist. So in the art team, we have different roles, like 3D modelers, the one who create the 3D assets, 2D artist, the one who creates the UI sprites, 2D sprites basically. So we have animators, the one who are responsible for creating animations. So also we have a art director role. So the one who coordinates with all the art team, the 2D artist, the 3D modeler, the animators. So basically the art director, she coordinates more with the designers and the programmers. So seeing the requirements, she coordinates with the art team. So yeah, and there are lead roles, every department has a lead roles, managerial roles. We have product managers. I think product managers, they can come from any field. They need not have a prior game development experience.
Okay.
So I feel, yeah, these are the roles. So these are the roles which involve in the pipeline of the game development. So apart from these, we have growth managerial roles, data analyst, business analyst. These are the ones who are responsible. They come into picture when you launch the game, right? So they are more into the user acquisition thing. So yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool, 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 cool. And what are the tools that you need to, let's say, I talk about game developer per se. What are the kind of
Hmm.
tools that you are expected? How do I learn those skills?
Okay. So if you see the AAA studios, right, like Rockstar Games, EA, and the ones who make very large scale games,
Hmm.
so most of them they work on Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine, like they are mainly used for like when you want to make any AAA games. So AAA games are like हो गया GTA Vice City, FIFA, those kind large scale games, right? So Unreal games, Unreal Engine is used when you want like a very like high performing visuals, graphics, those kind of games, right? So Unreal is it comes very handy for those kind of games. So,
Okay.
but if you see in India, right, majority of the studios they work on Unity game engine. So Unity game engine is more flexible. Like if you when you want to create small games or even large games, you can do both kind of games creation in Unity game engine. So I personally work on Unity. So I first learned like during the start of my career, I first learned Unity, and throughout I've just been working on Unity.
Okay.
So Godot, like it is not widely used, but some of the studios have started using Godot.
Okay.
So mainly for the game development thing, Unity, Unreal, and Godot, they three are the main engines. So in Unity, like we code using C Sharp. In Unreal, the coding is using C++. Godot, I think they use JavaScript. I'm not sure about it. And Blender is used by 3D artists, like for creating 3D models, those things. And the 2D artists, they work more on Photoshops and other um photo designing softwares.
So, which one is the easiest one of all?
like I think all are similar. So because the basics are same in all the engines. Talking about the coding part, right? So if you work on Unreal, so like coding with C++, I think is known to be like little bit trickier than other programming languages. But if you show enough of interest, like while learning C++, so um, you'll have great interest in working on it. And once you are clear with C++, I think you can easily switch on any of the programming languages. But that doesn't really mean that if you work on other languages also you cannot switch on C++. So like so it is just the mindset of the programmers, right? So like the ones who are like very open minded and always open to switch from one programming language to another. So suppose like if I was working on Unity game engine in my previous company and I have to switch on you never know, like the next job you'll switch on, so which game engine they'll be working on. So I would say like always be open minded. So aisa kuch nahi ki this one is easy, this one is hard, so go for it. Like just learn things, like have a open minded attitude, and whatever comes in your way, like just grab it and start working on it. So this is what I would recommend.
Got it. And how do you think AI is leading this entire space? Like from coding perspective, I've seen so many tools available that helps you code and rewrite. So how do you think
Correct.
AI will change this process?
So like talking about the picture 3 years back, so if a programmer was taking like to work on a mechanics, like if he spends around like 2 3 hours, so using AI that thing can be done in even in 15 minutes.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so like every studio, like um every studio knows, like with the AI how much uh, easier things can be done, right? So they so that is one disadvantage for it, like if the timeline for developing so and so mechanics, if 3 years back it was like 2 days, so now with the AI, ChatGPT and all coming into picture, so now they expect you to do it within 2 hours, 3 hours, right? So like AI has made your life easier, but also like the studios expect you to like speed up the developing pipeline because of that. But still, like if you are very handy with using AI tools, like with writing the prompts, getting the result what you want, like for your code, so it really makes your life easier, I would say. Like So I would still, there are a lot of people who don't know to use AI. Like, they don't know to write the specific prompts what they want to get the actual result of the code which they require, right? So still, I feel the market is still lacking that knowledge of using integrating AI into your development pipeline. So the ones who are very at ease with it, so they are like having a good time currently. So I would say AI still writes my code by I know 70%. 70% of my code is written by ChatGPT. So, but even 70% of the code is written by ChatGPT, right? So you still need to know, like, how to integrate it in your project. Like, sometimes it might even give a slight error in the code. So you should know how to rectify those things. So you cannot fully rely on AI, right? You need to know the basic knowledge. You need to have the fundamentals clear yourself, and then it makes sense to use AI, integrate it with the pipelines. So,
Right. Makes sense. Okay. So
so yeah, one thing to add. So the ones like who are getting into the game development, right? So don't have it in your mind ki, like you have the AI thing, right? So you can skip the concepts and like AI will write the code for you. That doesn't work. So I would say during the initial stage of your learning, right? So don't use AI. So just like do things by yourself. So at a later stage, you can like integrate your development pipeline with the AI. So once your fundamentals always need to be clear. Firstly, that is when you can later like start using the codes written by ChatGPT or any other AI software. Or is what happens is ChatGPT the code लिख देगा, but you would not know how to like put it in your project, right? So that will give you another headache. So even I had faced this initially, but like I got through all these things. Yes, Aman. Hello. Hello.
hello.
Yeah.
So there was some technical difficulty. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Cool. So okay, I'll ask a $1 million question before uh, I move to the next one. How much
Hmm.
can you expect as a game developer?
Like how much salary?
Yeah, how much can you make? Maybe salary, maybe freelancer. If you
Acha, okay.
our own
Uh,
games.
um, so like it's a very trickier question. It doesn't have a straightforward answer.
Hmm.
So firstly, I'll talk about the salaries. So like yeah, you can expect like if you are just entering as an intern, so like it is just like any other software development roles.
Okay.
So if you once have a full-time role, right, if you are very easy with your work and you are very good with the development stage and the
Yeah.
process, so you can expect a slight better pay than a typical software development or web development role.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this is enough to give a salary picture. And talking about the freelance, right? So yeah, you can freelance man. I think the pay is also like slight better than a typical like web development or
Okay.
a software development role.
Can you
But
put
here, yeah, you want me to put the money thing?
yeah, but like a ballpark? Say let's say 10 to 50. If I have 5 6 years of experience, like that is typically where majorly people are, and then there's growth based on leadership, right?
Hmm.
So let's say 5 to 6 years of experience if I have in the industry, how much?
So if like if you see the India market, right? So there are some companies like who don't like who hesitate you to pay a like actual market pay. So I've seen like companies paying even like uh, less than 7 LPA for a 5 6 years of experience, and
Oh,
I've also seen companies paying more than 15 LPA, like between 15 to 20 LPA, like for the similar experience which the developers have. So
Right.
like it is very important also for you, like to grab the right opportunity in the market. Like you can't expect, like you have this many years of experience, so like any of the like you just approach one or two studios and get a full-time role, and like you would get this much of salary which you expect. That doesn't happen. Like you have to put efforts on negotiating the salary, getting entering the right company which justifies the pay for your role. So efforts needs to be put on these things as well.
Got it. And is it possible to, let's say, if I'm not going for a big PC based game, let's say I want to
Hmm.
create a simple Ludo King, for example,
Hmm.
do I have to go through the same process, or I can do it independently myself, like end to end? Is it possible?
Yeah, like you are saying like not join a company but like develop it yourself.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that is very much possible, right? So in that case, you need to put efforts on, like first developing a prototype of your idea, like a workable game, right? Then I think it won't be possible for you to do the launching thing alone by yourself. You would need help of a publisher or any external sources. So in that,
We put it on Play Store and Store.
you can put it on Play Store, but like no, what if like, but what happens, like you put it on Play Store and nobody downloads it? Like marketing thing is a crucial thing. That's the reason the indie studios, they tie up with the publishers.
Got
So because the publishers only have, they put a lot of resources, right, in the initial stage of marketing, because like they put a, like they blindly spend money seeing the scope of the game, right? So they put a lot amount of resources in the beginning stage, but they get the reward once the game reach the top charts. So you can see the publishers, like they bet, if they bet on like 10 to 15 games, like even if two or three ends up in the top charts, right? So they recover all the money they put, right, in the initial stage. So that's the reason. So when you tie up with any publisher, so they already have the hit games on the Play Store or iOS.
right.
So they have the resources, right, to reach out the audience and those things. So you need to reach out to a publisher.
Got it.
So and it's not an easy task also. Like it's not like you reach out to any publisher, they'll simply say yes. Like you reach out. So initially what happens, you might even reach out to 50 or 100 publishers, none of them will respond to you. Where after that, like even one response, they agree to initially test your game. Then after that, like वो लोग भी हाथ खड़ा कर देंगे, right? So it's not a very easy journey as it seems. So like out of 100 indies, like um I would say 4 to 5% only succeed to
Oh,
have a hit. Yeah, have a hit game off.
hmm. That's
So
low.
it's, yeah, so the journey is, like you can say it's tip of a iceberg.
Okay. Okay. One question that might be a little digressing, but there's a lot of buzz around gamification of education. So, education as an industry, a lot of people are saying that you need gamification. Now, by gamification, I mean level and all those kind of things. So, do you think
Mm-hmm.
a game developer has a scope in education companies where they can try to convert traditional education in the format of a game? Like, have someone explored that?
So like this thing is very much related to like the online learning firstly. So like
Duolingo, for
so
example.
so if the school integrates it, right? So yeah, like talking about the learning experience, it will definitely like create a great learning experience. So if the schools are like having it for themselves, so it has a very good scope. But talking about online like I think like for quite a long time, the online learnings, they have integrated like gamings in their learning resources. But it also depends on how many users, like they come on, like after the COVID period, right? So we expected like the online learning would boom, and now it is coming again down. People want to go back offline, and companies are shutting down which were online.
Correct.
So yeah, like so I would say, like if the offline centers, like they have it integrated, I don't think that is the scenario currently to a very large scale. But in future, if they turn out to it, right, so we need to see, like how the time goes by. So
Got it.
I'm not seeing a very big scope for it now, but in future maybe yes.
Got it. Cool, cool, cool. Great, great. I think that bring us towards the end of this session. Any parting words that you have for someone who's looking to get into the industry from scaling perspective, from let's say any other points that you would want to put up?
So like a lot of questions I get on LinkedIn is like from the aspiring game developers is like once I do this course or like once I learn this engine, so like will I get this much of package and those things. So I would say like there is nothing like that. Like don't have very high expectations only just because you learned this or like you did this course. That's not going to happen, right? So like the I would say the graph is not always straight. So you learn things, but you have to like keep learning rigorously, continuously. You have to build your portfolios, like work on projects. So always have a portfolio for yourself, whatever projects you make. So work on as many projects as possible. Build a portfolio for yourself. Update your LinkedIn profile, like whatever projects you build, right? So put it on LinkedIn. Build connections from the industries, the people who are relevant from the industry on LinkedIn. So that is also very important, and also be very consistent on like posting if you are just entering into the learning phase, right? Into game development. So build projects continuously, post it on LinkedIn. So what happens is when the people who are your connections or like the ones who come across your post, right? So they see your learning phase, like how you started and what is your growth, how much you're growing on a daily basis. So like that only I see many people they end up getting a job offer. So build a portfolio, like share your work with the world online. And also like you need to learn to grab the right opportunities. Like whenever the opportunities you they come at your door, like just grab it. So I think these things are very important, like
I think
and
the
also
it's
yeah, tell me. Yeah.
it feels like the career for game development is also like a game where you have levels, and the better you play, the faster you'll grow, and you have to collect all the
Yeah,
coins along the way.
correct. So initially when I got into game development, right, so the competition was like comparatively quite less, right? So there wasn't much, even like before I did the course, I didn't even know the game development thing existed. So now like people are getting more aware, like a lot of colleges also have the game. They also came up with the game development courses, those things. They have integrated it with the bachelor's master's course also, like there are many colleges now. So the awareness is more, so like a lot of game developers and a lot of people from the gaming careers they are coming up in the market. So the competition is like increasing day by day. So you also have to be the best among others, like who are of the similar experience which you have. So that's when, so the scope is always there in the market, but you have to be the best. So companies always look, they are ready to pay for a skilled developer, right, or any other roles, but you have to justify that role to expect that kind of pay for yourself.
Makes sense. Cool. Great, Darren. I think I don't have anything specific. Guys, if you want, you can put down your questions on the chat. Post that, we'll close this session. All right, I don't see any questions. Cool. In that case, I think Darren, I think thank you for your time. It's been lovely to learn more about this. I think I had a lot of different notions about game development, about the difficulty level, the kind of career graph that you can expect. A lot more I've understood by the session. And again, thank you so much for taking the time and
Mhm.
your insights.
Yeah, like it was indeed my pleasure, like to speak with you guys. And I would say like you guys are doing a great thing, like with Skillmate and all the initiatives you guys are taking. So I was very more than happy to like share my insights, whatever I learned with my experiences with your audiences. So yeah, like thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time again.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone. Bye
Guys.
bye.